Hello CIS27. This is part 2 of the lecture video, as I have reached the maximum allowed time to record the screen using that tool. Anyway, going back to what we were discussing about attacks. So wireless replay attacks, the attacker would capture the data sent between the two entities and modify and impersonate one of the parties' information system and be able to intercept the data. And in the case if the wireless network is using WPA with TKIP, it is vulnerable to the replay attack. So we would implement AES in the form of encryption for that wireless network to prevent vulnerability, to reduce the vulnerability to the replay attack. Rfid attack is radio frequency identifier attack, consists of sniffing, eavesdropping, replay, and denial of service. So in this form of attack, the attacker would listen in to the radio signal. He or she would collect the data over the air using protocol to the RFID system. Replay allows the attacker to use bogus tags and mimic real tags, and to disrupt services after acquiring the tags. So to go back and answer the question for our assignments. For number 12, I'd ask you to identify the common wireless attacks. You can list the majority of them or a few of them. 3 at least is fine. So for 12, I put down IV attack, Evil Twin attack, MSC, and jamming. You can also include Bluetooth, snarfing, and different form of Bluetooth attack along with radio frequency attack. Next, we're going to talk about virtual private network, which is VPN. And VPN is important for remote access. Last lab, you completed setting up IPsec for virtual private network access. So virtual private network, often we would use Secure Shell or Remote Desktop Protocol, and Secure Shell is for Mac OS and Linux OS. Remote Desktop Protocol is used for Windows OS. This would allow us to connect to a certain systems. Could be, our work computer at work. So we would be able to remotely connect to a certain system. And there are different types of VPN. There's Direct Access VPN, which is a role on the server. And in the Windows Server environment, you would see RAS as a role, remote access server. That would allow, you would need to configure that in order for the client systems to obtain access, authorizations, and connectivity. And in the routing area, we need to configure routing and remote access console. We would use what's called a Vpn Concentrator, which is a dedicated device for virtual private network. This device can establish services for VPN using strong encryption and authentication. This concentrator should be placed in the DMZ. And in the case where we want to implement IPsec, that would allow us to use tunnel mode to encrypt the packet when we're transmitting data across the network. And as you saw last week, IPsec uses AH, which is authentication header, that allows the host to have a conversation with the other system once authentication took place. And that would allow the host to exchange data. And IPsec uses encryption called Encapsulated Security Payload, ESP. This allows us to encrypt the data and provide confidentiality for the data transmission. Another form of virtual private network would use TLS, which is more web-based, and it it uses Secure VPN channel port 443 and OpenVPN or OpenConnect. So in the case where we would use the browser to connect to our virtual private network, like most of the service that you see on the internet that you can pay $10 a month or $90 a year, let's say, that uses TLS, and it uses OpenVPN or OpenConnect. Or we can use split tunnel, in which administrator would define what traffic should be encrypted in which tunnel. And in some cases, virtual private network can use full tunnel, where all traffic is encrypted while the user is connected on the VPN. We can also have a site-to-site VPN, where two VPN servers that would act as gateway for two networks, and we are able to connect two networks without additional contribution of the user. And another form of VPN is known as the always-on VPN. These VPNs are always on. It can be used for site-to-site and remote access. With remote access control, network access control, the NAC would be used to provide continuous monitoring and inspection of our system access. It can control by characteristics of the health of the system. So it does the health check using health agents. It would do update to date, and it would check for antivirus software, firewall, if the firewall is enabled. It also look at VPN redirection before the firewall and at VPN server. We can also implement permanent agent, where it would be installed on the client, where it always going to be on, or dissolvable agent, where it could be downloaded and run on the client after the authentication. So NAC is often be added for the system that would be utilizing virtual private network. And when it comes to the identity and access services, we can implement password authentication protocol, which is PAP. This would be the last resort, where we would send password in plain text. It is very vulnerable, and our password could be intercepted. Another protocol that would be implemented for authentication or access control would be Challenge Handshake Authentication Protocol, and CHAP is used with the server to challenge the client, in which the client would respond with authentication information, in which if it is true, then it will be granted. TakeX is the Terminal Access Controller Access Control System Plus, and this allows the system to be authenticated, especially devices, appliances like Cisco or Radius appliances. And then Diameter is an extension of Radius, and it uses TCP to be able to connect Radius system for remote access reasons. So here what you see is additional access services and identity, along with the protocol that would be implemented for the virtual private network management capability. So for the last two questions, question 13, we need to identify the types of VPN. You can list IPsec or TLS using port 443, or it could be direct VPN. So you can pick a few of those that was listed on the last page of our notes. For number 14, it asks you to explain the purpose of network, the NAC. We simply use NAC to provide continuous monitoring and inspection of our system health. And it would just check for whether it's up to date, if it has, anti-malware, and it also have firewall protections, etc. And it also look at VPN connections at the server end. And this concludes all 14 questions in your assignments. Please look through the notes as you watch through this video, along with look through the chapter, read the chapter to help you better understand the technology, the security practices, and the type of attacks that we often see in wireless and also wired area. If you have any questions, please contact me. I will post the lab video as part of the series. Again, if you have any questions, please send a message.